So let's talk about this term we find in the New Testament, last day. Where if you have the Devar software and you just search it with the quotes, you get the exact matches where we find it 7 times. Where notice the relationship in John 11:24 concerns rise. So the word rise here, anistemi, according to last, would contrast those who rise first. 1 Thessalonians 4:16, which I talk about in many of my videos, according to the timeline of the first watch time, eventide. Here's the chart outlining the 4 watch times, which eventide begins parabolically at 6 o'clock. Here, which concerns rise first, where then midnight is the next rising, when 5 out of 10 sober-minded virgins enter the wedding, and then the foolish are locked out. But there's still a last rising here, where Martha specifically, the one tumultuated, only perceived the last day rising, as many Christians today. So understand that when we read John chapter 6, namely verses 36 through 40, 37 through 40, Jesus is speaking to a third watch time audience here. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone beholding the Son, according to the sign of the Son, that which will be made to appear at midnight, and faithing into him during the third watch time, may have Aeonian life, and I will let him rise, anistemi, in the last day, the last rising. So we have orders of rising. As I talked about in my video number 58, as well as my pin videos, 3 pin videos here, 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17 represent 2 orders of rising. So the rise first at eventide contrasts the thereupon, who will rise into the clouds according to the epanthesis here, which is the parable of the 10 virgins. Here in Matthew 25:6, the word epanthesis, according to the middle of the night, is the second watch time, concluding when the door, down here, verse 10, is shut and those prepared enter here. So we could say this is the rise second. Luke 12:38, where we still have the third watch time. Blissful are those in relationship to the wedding feasts. There are 3 orders to come into the wedding feast, where when we enter, either at eventide disappeared, who are those who are uploosened here first, or either at midnight, or either at cock-a-doodle-doo. Blissful are those concerns the rising, where the last day, singular day, not days, the last day is right here. So again, when we read John 6:37 through 40, where we find most of the occurrences of last day here, 4 occurrences, 4 of 7, we have to think in terms of the third watch timers. This is who Jesus is talking to. All which the Father gives me coming to me during the third watch time, who are locked out of the wedding here, and then they'll be coming into the completion here. Not ye not do I drive him out. Matthew 12:20. A reed having been battered together, he will not crack down in a smoldering linen wick. Smoldering linen wick he will not extinguish, till as it were he drives out the judgment into that which conquers here. This is the finalization of the completion of the right hand, blissful ones, where the woe is to these. Where the key word extinguish in the parable of the 10 virgins, which the foolish are saying Since our brightening lamps are going to extinguish, because they had no oil, Jesus says he will not extinguish the smoldering linen wick. Okay, so all of these key words help us determine the timeline concerning the audience. So the driving out of the judgment into that which conquers concerns the foolish virgins locked out of the wedding at midnight, the second rising, who still have the last day. The third watch time, hence third day, where we find a profound connection in Hosea chapter 6, okay? When we read, he will enliven us, this is the rising from the end of a double day onward. In the third day, he will raise us up. This is the rise. In the last day, we will live before his face. So, right here, we will return to Yahweh. Are those who are locked out here foolish? Lord, Lord, open to us. For he tore, and he will heal us. He struck, and he will bandage us. Notice in the parable of the patch, on unfulfilled rag, on old raiment, lifts it the completion from the raiment, and it tear becomes worse. Okay, where if you just back up here, we see the bridegroom will be lifted from them, which goes right back to the parable of the 10 virgins. Matthew 25:6, where, remember, the timeline of midnight concludes the second watch time. This is the double day finishing, ending, Hosea chapter 6. The encounter here points to 1 Thessalonians 4:17, the rapture into the clouds, the second rising, which then we still have the third rising in the last day, the end of the double day. So each watch time can be looked at as a day. Third day, first day, second day, third day. Here's your double day. When Jesus tells the learning ones, days will come, he's not talking about 24-hour days. Then you will desire to perceive one of the days, and not will you eye it, and then they're going to talk to you. Perceive, he is here, he is there, he is everywhere, which goes back to Matthew 24:23, where the great affliction is talked about in verse 21. So again, we have to concern the context of days in relationship to the watch times as days also. The parables are riddles that we have to decipher. And the watch times gives us wisdom to understand timelines, sequences of events of the last days, where the last day concludes the third watch time.